This is a bit of a just a debrief really from the hilly ride the other day. After recharging that from that 27 mile until the battery went flat, that was 833 watt hours, which is a little bit less than I anticipated. I don't know which battery has degraded or both. That's one of my big packs, has been going for a couple of years now. Anyway, that's 30 watt hours per mile, which is a lot really. So it got me to thinking, well, this coil, I think I've got it at 24 volts when it's under load, because on that PWM system, if I'm down at 12 volts, then basically it cogs all the time. So 12 volts takes about 5 amps, so that's 60 watts. So 24 volts will take about 20 amps probably. I think I've got that right. It's proportional. Oh no, I do beg your pardon. It would be 10 amps, 24 volts. So that's 240 watts. That is an absolute shitload going to that coil. So I want to get round that. Anyway, T. Changley, 21, he does a few mopeds and things like this, and he's just got a moped recently. And he's got, I asked him what he did with his coil, and he said he got a 12 volt regulator, un petit régulateur. Now that's a really dodgy French accent, but hey, what the hell, that's pretty much what he says. So I already had one. I bought this a while ago. 3 wires, common ground, and then you've got up to 72 volts in and 12 volts out, and they're about £4 on eBay. So he runs his on all the time, and that's great on a moped, it's fine. But on my bike, what that would do is, if it was on all the time, is I'd always have resistance. So if I want to pedal it, I'd be pedaling against the cogging resistance here, which I'm not happy to do. So I need to switch it. So I've made up a right old, yeah, okay, a dog's breakfast really, but it seems to work. So I've kept the, the other reason I did this is because that PWM at low throttle, because the voltage on the 3-phase is quite low on average, but yet this is drawing a shitload of current to the PWM. These were smoking, or one of them was smoking, so it's fine at high throttle because you get high voltage on the input, but when you get low voltage on the input, just smoked, didn't work. So I've kept it so that I've got a varying voltage, or more to the point, I've got a voltage when I've got throttle on. So I found a relay that's got, it was out of a microwave actually, which I tore down, which has got good switching. It's is it 16 amps or something like that? I've taped over it, but 16 amps at DC at 30 volts. So that should do. And what I've done is I've switched the input voltage to the regulator. Now, capacitance aside, that should be giving me a lower current. Anyway, it works, it's fine, and it means that I haven't got to energise the regulator when I'm not on throttle. If I took it off at 12 volt, it would be just not taking load but still energised. I didn't really want that. So on the coil side, I could have, well, anything really from 20, 30 volts to 60 volts. So what I've done is probably a 12 volt coil. So what I've done is I've put a resistor in as shunt. Well, is it a shunt? No, it's not a shunt because the shunt's in parallel. It's a series resistor. It's 330 ohms. It's not really got the heat dissipation. Could do with a ceramic, but hey, I've got this. I think it's a 2-watt resistor. It does get hot if I'm on full load because this voltage is high and it's taking quite a lot. It seems to work. Tickling along on the throttle, it's fine. And tickling along the throttle is mostly where I'm going to be. I don't spend my life going flat out. Right, so that's the relay. Now, because if that burns out, I'm screwed, I don't have any field. I've also wired in a bypass switch because I don't trust anything. So if I've got the bypass switch closed, then I've got coil field. But that'll piss me off when I'm on off the throttle because I won't be able to pedal. So that'll normally be off. However, there's a little bit of lag. So the way this seems to work is that if I turn the throttle tiny bit, then the relay stays open. I don't get any voltage on the coil, so it'll cog. But going from a standing start and just tickling the throttle, you'll get a cog. So, but if I open the throttle a bit further, then you get more voltage here. You get this to close. You energise the coil. Everything's good. There's a bit of balance. But as long as you don't try and set off too quickly, it's fine. But if that happens to be what I'm doing, I can flick the bypass switch to close position, and we've got permanent field anyway. So that's happy days. It seems to work. I haven't really tested it in anger yet. Now the 60 volts to get on the input with the PWM, I don't really know what was going out. So it was cogging all the time. Could be because it was on low voltage. Sometimes at part throttle or whatever it was, or accelerating. Don't really know because it wasn't regulated. But what I've done here is, rather than take it off the 3-phase rectifier, which was variable, I've taken it straight off the battery. And I happen to have located in the right place is the charging port. So I've just wired on the socket. So when I'm charging, I can disconnect that, and that means I can charge it, or I can just disconnect this, or I can charge it via the other end anyway, which it's not a real problem either way. But it does give me the facility just to disconnect this, which is for my own sanity. Although the relay does it for me now. For my own sanity is probably the right thing to do. Also, when this thing's on full all the time, like Mr. Changley has it, it does get a little bit warm. Now he's got it strapped on the bottom of his moped. It's not a real problem, but I want mine tucked away in the case, so it could get a little bit warm. Anyway, so it seems to work. I'm going to turn it on. Bypass switch is open, off. So this will just be on the relay. So you might hear it cog. Right, that's it. Tiny bit of throttle and it's cogging. Tiny. Whoop. Start again. Cogging. And then big throttle. So I went off the throttle between the two of those. So that's tiny throttle. Right, so switch closed. Tiny throttle. And big throttle. And all seems good. So we'll box this all back up, and we'll go again for a top speed run down the down that flat path, and we'll see what we get. I'll charge a battery first though, because I want to see what it will really do. Now, Mr. Changley on his moped got 70 kilometers an hour or something ridiculous. A bit more than what this did. This did 42 mile an hour, which would be what would that be? 63 plus another 4, 67. So you probably got 75 kilometers an hour. Anyway, we'll see if it does better than 42 on the next video, which I'm hoping to do tomorrow morning, nice and early when there's no one about. Okay, bye.